Alrighty, everyone. So we're starting off the live stream here. Go ahead and give everyone just a couple of seconds to join in. Want to make sure the audio is coming through clearly. Seems like the upload's going through well. Audio looks like it's coming through normally as well. If you guys can leave a message in the chat, we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll do our normal kind of daily update analysis of the market. We're going to be spending some time today to do a bit of a macro analysis. And I know it's a live stream, but what's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash. I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, as I was alluding to earlier, we're going to be taking some time to analyze the more kind of macro perspective for Bitcoin. I want to go over and just talk a little bit about my kind of time projections for Bitcoin getting back above the big even level of 20K. I can see some chat messages are coming in. I'll jump into those in just a moment. But along that as well, we'll also be spending some time to talk about kind of the macro narrative for this cycle. How Bitcoin as an asset will evolve alongside other assets in the crypto space, and how we're going to see really decentralized finance take off, and really just to talk about how small DeFi is right now and why there's really two different compounding factors that are going to grow DeFi as an asset class. So seems like people are coming through good. I know many of you had requested I do a live stream, so I thought, why not do it? I'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and just dive right into it. So taking a look over the last 24 hours like we normally do, we can see here the vast majority of the market in a no trend scenario right now, between 1% and 2% to the upside or downside. Markets are relatively neutral after about a 4 or 5 day pullback here for Bitcoin as well as Ethereum, and the broader market obviously following with that. I wanted to go ahead, though, ignore the short-term stuff, guys, and we'll talk a little bit about that here as we take a look at the longer-term perspective. But I just want to go ahead here and focus in on, obviously, the most important time frame. The year to 2 year, possibly even 3 year time frame from where we're at now. As you all know from watching me on the channel, I always take a very conservative approach to things. I understand cryptocurrency markets can go way beyond where they are right now. They can have massive multiples. There very much will be plays that, not only 100x in this case in their US dollar value, but as Bitcoin, as we're projecting, is going to be at a minimum, conservatively going at a 10x comparative to its previous high. A 5x from its previous high in this case. In this case, we are going to have many plays that do a 20x against Bitcoin and do all these massive multiples. Things are exciting, right? And we're starting to see that right now. I think many of you who are active in the decentralized finance space or enterprise blockchain space are seeing this. But I want to go ahead and really talk about the shape of price action right now and where we're at in the current cycle. So as many of you are probably aware of, I've talked about it a couple of times, but I think it's just important to hit home on it as we have new people coming to the channel. And again, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, you can always subscribe and hit the bell icon. But anyways, I digress. I want to talk about really the relevant thing here, and that is the expanding cycles. A lot of people always attest to 4 year cycles. I personally don't believe this. I really think at the end of the day, what we've really had is 3 previous cycles in Bitcoin. We're in our 4th one right now, and that these cycles are expanding over time. If you take the bottom extremes and the bottom highs here, the peaks and the troughs here for price, what you tend to find here, just to clarify, we're looking at the BLX indicator. It's an index of Bitcoin's price, and along with that, we're looking at the monthly. So each of these candles represents a month. We can see each and every time for the past 3 times that we've added anywhere from 11 to 13 months, give or take about a year to each cycle. So these cycles are experiencing longer wavelengths from bottom to top. So let's just go ahead and analyze where we're at right now. If we're expecting in this case that it's going to take 47 months in this case, this is the 12-month edition from the previous one, so we're meeting in the middle between these. We don't know. It could be a month earlier, a month after. Could be 12 months. Could defy the odds here and go right in between. If we take a look at the bottom where we set price, this leads us towards November of 2022. And what I always try to emphasize to people is to, again, much like with price action and our multiples, it could go well beyond 100K from our current target range, and it could take longer or shorter time frames, who knows. We want to keep our estimates as conservative as possible, and then we can set up a game plan afterwards to ride that extra wave of optimism in the market to hopefully get a better idea of when that top is going to come in. But all in all, 100K around this range by November 2022 is actually much better than most people's predictions. Most people believe that we are going to reach 100K Bitcoin in the fall of 2021. And can that happen? Yeah, crypto markets can go vertical, but I have to tell you all, we have to consider market to scale here. Bitcoin, when it was coming down from these valuations, was, again, in the low $1 billion ballpark here, right? going towards an asset at the time that topped up towards valuations that were slightly below 400 billion. Okay, now that's relatively easy to do so, and it took us well over a year, almost 3 years in this case, in order to go from that bottom to the top here, right? This time around, it's probably going to take us 4 years because we're talking about a much larger market. You're going from valuations down here, which were in the tens of billions of dollars for Bitcoin, into $100,000 for Bitcoin in a conservative basis, right? And with that, it probably means that we're going towards trillions of dollars of value for Bitcoin. Can that be achievable? Yeah, gold's already, gold right now is a $14 trillion market with its price appreciation. Might even actually be a little bit higher. Global equities right now, well over $100 trillion. Global bonds, U.S. Treasuries, another multi-$100 billion market, or let's say 100, 20, 30, 40, 50 billion, if you get what I'm saying there, added a few 10 billions. Can vary depending on valuations. But all in all here, Bitcoin is a very small market. But we have to understand that it takes time to build these markets. It takes time to make these kind of multiples, to go 5x from the previous highs, right? Again, the returns are going to be less than they were in the previous cycles. And along that as well, it's going to take longer. Okay, so I've rambled on enough about that. I just want to check here real quick. It looks like we've got a good amount of you guys viewing here on the stream. Very, very excited for that. So thank you all for taking the time to tune in. I want to go ahead, though, and we'll dive into more of the short term here. So again, as many of you are aware, we broke out of the long-term wedge here, very similar to what we had. This was more of kind of like a press constantly against resistance in the previous cycle. But this time around, we've got a very clear wedge here between the highs and the lows, coiling in the nice breakout here that we have in price. And it looks like what we're going to have here, and I always like to use my Coinbase chart for this, just have a separate one, that we're probably going to push sideways for a little while. We're going to slowly grind up, setting in slightly higher relative highs and relative higher lows in this case, and eventually start to coil in and pop up here with a lot of momentum testing up towards that big 20K level. Because as a trader here, the important thing to note is that the more and more we get close to the highs here in the regards to the top here, and we can see this previously in Bitcoin's price history, I'll jump back to it in a moment, you see the momentum picks up more and more and more as people anticipate the trade up. If for example, if Bitcoin's gotten up to 14K and it's gotten past this relative high here, what do you think the next stop is? It's probably going to go towards 20K. Like, traders trade off of like anticipations of other traders, and it causes this cyclical process where we eventually retest up to the highs. We might even break slightly to new highs, closing above 20,000 for the daily, and then we come back down to 17 or 16K, and then we bounce back up, for the next wave of buyers to come in. Because when you revisit those highs, that's when people get very excited. It's a solidification that this isn't any joke, that this market is back. Anyone who thought Bitcoin was a scam because it went down 80%, they're going to be off their rocks when they see it at 30, 40K, right? So if you're lucky enough to see it when it gets back up to that 20K level, and a lot of media outlets cover it, a lot of institutional traders look for this who might have been watching Bitcoin, that's the moment where you're going to have a lot of buyers coming in. But no, again, to build on that point here, you can see the momentum kicks up more and more and more here. We're even looking at the logarithmic chart here, but you can slowly see here as we start to set these higher relative highs and lows, things start to go vertical. And again, we break up to the previous highs. This was where Bitcoin's previous high was at 1100, right? Came back down, had a consolidation period, and then we just started climbing up faster and faster and faster towards 20K. And then again, that was just a weekly chart here, guys. It's a very short time frame where a lot of these multiples start to come in. But if you catch it in the earlier days, you can read the first half of the wave here. Thank you very much, Ivan. Appreciate the donation, man. Oh, man, that's really sweet, Ivan. Keep up the great work as well, man. Appreciate it. But yeah, no, I think, again, I think as a lot of people, like Ivan and myself have been talking about in this space, again, it really is considering the market to scale here and watching what's going to be happening over the next, 2 to 3 years. So if you're just getting into the market or you're just starting to make some of these substantial altcoin positions, don't worry, guys. The plays that are making these kind of moves right now that are going to be the new champions, they're in the upper tens to lower $100 million range. It's not a big deal. You didn't miss out much. And the larger protocols that are Ethereum competitors, they're in the anywhere range of a $1 billion valuation to $5 billion valuation. It sounds like a lot. It's really not. There's lots of room for these protocols to grow, so long as they fundamentally continue to develop. Now, again, look at the daily here, right? This just gives us an even more kind of conscious picture on the shorter time frame what's going to happen. We're just going to probably push sideways, slowly move up, set up more higher significant highs, higher significant lows. That's what we're generally looking for. And it's the reason why, quite frankly, I'm not making any major moves on Bitcoin, right? I've been mainly making trades here and what's going on in altcoin markets, right? Take a look at the altcoin chart here, turn off the logarithmic so we can see it more clearly. What's happening right now? Well, we reached up to a big even percentage of 40% for altcoins, or 60% dominance for Bitcoin. And we saw Bitcoin start to regain dominance as the market pulled back. People took profits on some altcoins. Again, we were talking about the oracles being overvalued. We saw this with Chainlink finally starting to have a pullback, Band Protocol. Then we started to see it as well in some of the broader altcoin plays, right? And now we're down here. We hit resistance. Not to mention this was a key support level in the past, as you can see back here, 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 and here. And we're also playing off of a previous support level as potential new support right here, and also back in this range here. So again, very important kind of price range to watch for. We're not expecting too much pullback here in altcoins from where we're at now. But again, there's these cooldown periods where it might consolidate sideways for a while. It's not always going to be going up. And as you can see, comparative to the last breakout here for altcoins where it just went straight vertical, you don't have that kind of multiples here. And plus we have the longer extended cycles. So the same goes here for altcoins as it does for Bitcoin. We're likely going to be pressing sideways in some periods. Then we break out, have a nice healthy vertical climb like we had here. Not really vertical, but more of a steady climb here and dominance. And this is going to lead probably towards back to where we were here at the end of the cycle. Yeah, just to put time frame here. Remember, our top expectation for Bitcoin is here, November of 2022. So people who are thinking that it's just going to go up, 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 probably not giving you honest expectations. It's probably going to go towards having a nice steady growth pattern, probably maybe even accelerating later on. We might push a little bit sideways here for a while because Ethereum is trying to scale. DeFi is still trying to figure out a sense of maturity with YAM and all these projects coming out that are being they're not audited. I think that's going to scare away people the more events we have like that. But we need to have a nice steady growth here where it might start to accelerate towards the end. All right, we can maybe even break past the previous highs in altcoin dominance. I think that's very realistic. So, especially as DeFi becomes bigger and enterprise blockchain starts to accelerate. Now, I just want to let you all know, if you guys haven't already, please consider following me over on Twitter. I post a lot of updates on there. I posted some tweets this week here. I was just mentioning one. I think, again, for those who don't understand how big crypto is right now and what we're going through, I think there's nothing more important than innovating the thing we work 9 to 5 for. And this was a tweet we put out that I thought was just kind of a good vision of that. We also did an interesting DeFi poll of what people thought, what's your favorite feature of DeFi, right? Is it permissionless innovation, all your services in one application, removal of trust? The biggest thing is earning high yields. And the great thing is we're actually doing this with my smart wallet Digifox. We plug into Celsius Network where you can use Digifox. It streamlines the onboarding for Celsius and allows you to connect to fiat on-ramps from across the globe in a lot of other different countries. We currently have a wait list right now as we're upgrading to a set of new features for Digifox. But long story short, that'll be accessible soon. So you can go ahead, you can get on the wait list and stuff through the app if you want to download it. One other thing as well, this video, for those of you who may not know, you've probably seen it before, this video is sponsored by Bitpanda Pro. More specifically, Bitpanda Pro is a great platform where you can kind of get trading services. Many people refer to them as the European Coinbase. So if you're looking to get a lot of different fiat pairs in the European region, such as the Swiss franc, the euro, or maybe trade some of the major liquid cryptos, it can be a great place to start. We also got a donation here from Yana. Thank you very much, Yana. Hello, Nick. Good luck with your project Digifox. It was my pleasure to support your startup on the WeFunder too. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, Yanka. I appreciate that. Alrighty. We'll dive into some questions here in just a moment, guys. Just a few more things to go through here on CoinDesk. Appreciate the kind comments and the donations as well. But want to go ahead here. We'll finish off here with a few articles. One key article I wanted to talk about from CoinDesk is a really interesting article called Money Reimagined, Defining History. Very good play on words, and I like the pun. Long story short, though, I recommend you guys read through this. I won't spend all the time to talk about it, but it talks about DeFi as kind of a wave of innovation for financial markets. And this, again, looks back at different decades, the 1980s, the junk bonds and leveraged buyouts that was pushed from, I always forget his name right now. Yeah, Michael Milken in this case. Along with that as well, the 1990s, long-term capital management. The 2000s, CDOs, CDS, and the housing bubble. In 2010, the flash crash. Now, the key thing about all these, in this case, these kind of financial events or these shifts in finance, what's interesting is that they're not always good. They can be good and bad. They can teach us a lot about finance and how to better build financial markets. But the big thing here is that what really the writer of the article here, and I'm going to probably skip his name, Michael Casey in this case, actually got it there. Michael Casey really brings up this point that DeFi doesn't exactly have to be good or bad. And along with that as well, it's not going to reduce volatility. We've obviously seen, yields and spreads and volatility in DeFi are quite high. But the key thing to take away from it is that it's going to be for the first time where we might see a substantial shift in the allocation of liquidity towards systems that aren't controlled by major banks and major players, where we really could start to see a diversification of competition and opportunities to yield for your capital. And I think that's very, very fascinating. One of those has obviously been Uniswap. Now, Uniswap, I've used Uniswap many times, works pretty damn well for a DEX. And when the great thing is that it didn't need some big fancy ICO, it didn't raise a ton of capital. It's just simple, probably the most simple smart contract out there for decentralized swaps. It is the most low cost to my knowledge. It's why we use it in Digifox. And the ramp up in liquidity here has been insurmountable. Now, again, you have to consider here ETH and the value of these altcoins. Yes, are they going up over time too? Sure. Should we probably get some metrics? And I would really love to see this on Uniswap Info. I've talked to Hayden and a few of the other team members on Twitter before. I'd really love to see like a ETH chart here for the growth in ETH over time. But because total volume locked up, or TVL, total value locked up, can be a bit misleading. But hold on, you can see the liquidity, the volume here picking up at an accelerated rate. $1 billion and more in weekly volume here over the last 2 weeks. Phenomenal stuff. Now, again, what we're starting to see here is a bit of stagnation here in the short term, right? You have to have cool down periods. And along with that, you not only have valuations in the market going down right now, generally speaking, Ether going down in value. So this probably means still more assets are moving in to the DEX. But the key thing here as well is that with things like YAM and all these kind of like, really rambunctious forms of innovation, I think it's going to scare off a lot of people and putting liquidity into this space. But then again, put money into something very quickly, you get burnt. It happens, right? I didn't participate in YAMs because I don't like putting my stuff that's, putting money into things that are unaudited, right? I like contracts to be audited. I like them to be tested on testnet and Ropsten and RinkB, right? I want them to get their feet wet in a sense before I put capital into it. But Uniswap has been working beautifully. This is an example of DeFi innovation that just works. And when Uniswap moves to layer 2 where there's no fees, instant settlement, that is going to be a breakthrough moment for DEXs. But again, we can see here, again, as I mentioned earlier, you can look at the total value locked up. Obviously, it's gone vertical here, but it's important as well we be honest and not overhype this too much. We have to look at the Ethereum growth. Ethereum growth has nearly doubled here since June, which is still great. It's the next second wave of DeFi that we saw back here in 2018 going into 2019, but just much more accelerated and quicker. And along with that, we've also got a record amount of Bitcoin into DeFi. This is the kicker here. So for people, I would say, the thing that I always emphasize here, I know many people on this channel simply hold Bitcoin, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to rag on Bitcoin holders. I own Bitcoin. I've told you guys just a couple of minutes ago that I think Bitcoin's going to not only to 20K, but it's also going to go probably to a minimum of 100K. It could go to 150, 200K. I believe in Bitcoin as a store of value, as an emerging store of value as time progresses. It sets higher historical lows and historic highs. No other asset does this like Bitcoin does, especially in such a short time frame. But ETH is swallowing up DeFi. So unless Bitcoin starts to add some kind of, whether you want to call it a layer 2 solution or adds the ability to build unique protocols and features. I know there's money on chain. There's a few other things like Liquid. No one's using them though. So what does it tell you when you see a mass acceleration here of Bitcoin going over to Ethereum? It showcases that Ethereum is the functional layer, and Bitcoin is going to become a part of DeFi, most likely on Ethereum, unless someone else comes in and provides a better product, right? Like, I don't mean to, stoke the fire between the two networks and stuff. I don't like this despairing fight. What I'm actually stating here is that Bitcoin acts as a great emerging store of value. It's the largest asset. It would be silly not to bring it into DeFi and use it as collateral as an asset. But not seeing that these two assets together are going to work in tandem, these two protocols are going to be synchronized with one another at one point, I think it's silly, right? I think it's very, very arrogant. Now, for those of you who are wondering how much has DeFi swallowed ETH, there's currently 4.7 million Ethereum locked in DeFi protocols. If you take the existing supply right now, it's slightly over 4%, and that's great. That's awesome. That's further than where we were back a couple of months ago. Much further. We were at around like 2%. So there are going to be many waves like this where we consume up to 10%, 20%, 30%. It's going to take a very long time, but it'll happen as time progresses here. And I'm very, very excited to see that as we go through the future. And again, I really put my money where my mouth was, guys, in the sense of being long DeFi. So I've talked to you guys about it. I've been covering DeFi since 2017 through plays that, again, weren't even labeled as DeFi. And again, I built Digifox, which is a smart wallet here that plugs into a lot of DeFi and CeFi services, centralized finance and decentralized finance, giving you all the features to trade, to deposit and earn interest, and we give away a ton of money to our community as well. So we've got some big news and developments coming up, but if you guys want to invest and kind of invest in a company that's acting as the interface into DeFi, definitely check out Digifox. This is my company. We're doing a public crowdfunder. I decided not to do some private sale, ICO for VCs and accredited investors. No, whether you're accredited or an average everyday person who just wants to put in $100, we're doing the crowdfund open to everyone. In this case, you can invest from different countries. You don't have to be from the U.S. You can be from the U.S. So again, this is something that you can always consider as well. But just wanted to share it with you all. And we got a donation from Karen. Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate it. Dice Clay said, I have 24 Bitcoin. Is that good? Dice, that'd be fantastic if you have 24 Bitcoin. You have more than 1/1,000,000th of the entire Bitcoin network, and that's not even excluding lost Bitcoin. Restream's mentioning that we got over 100 messages today on Restream. That's awesome. So I want to go ahead here, make sure I didn't miss anything. I appreciate the donations, guys. Appreciate from Ivan, Yana, and Karen. Good to hear everyone's having a good morning or maybe a good day, depending on where you are. Let's go ahead. Mika said, thank you, Nick, for the Ample tip. I actually wanted to spend some time to talk about Ample. I appreciate you bringing that, Mika. And absolutely, I want to share as much as I can with you guys here on the channel. And Ample, take a look at the daily here, right? So Ample as an asset is very fascinating to me. There are periods of time where it's basically aimed at being an asset that holds its dollar peg, and we can see here that there has obviously been some volatile swings. So I think that Ample needs to continuously work on its not only its constraints as an asset, right? Like all the different incentive structures that it has, how it changes the supply basis when the price goes above the peg and below it. I think like DAI, it's going to be an emerging asset that gets evolved over time. But all in all, I think Ample is really, really exciting. And I think that there's, again, as a trader, there's a lot of kind of quote-unquote arbitrage opportunities, or at least short-term opportunities to trade off the inefficiencies of how the market treats Ample at the time. So, for example, we can see back here when we broke far away here at 47 cents from the peg, we got a 231% rally here. And this is not even including that once it got above $1, we started to get some positive rebases. But all in all, if you start to buy when the supply has been reduced, that we've had negative rebases as the basically means reductions in the supply of Ample that you get to have as an owner of Ample as the price remains below the peg as a kind of supply shock dynamic. In this case, we see that price starts to go up in this case, and we get these really nice short-term rallies. In this case, it was 10 days right from the low, and I'll apologize, I'll actually drag it here. It's a little bit less, it's 221%. And here, I think we've got one down here from this low. You could technically take it from here, but I think this is when really the rally kicked in, right? And we've already seen a good amount so far, whereas the market has been generally down right now. We're already up 41% minus some of the negative rebases from our position. All in all, still doing well. We're not down on this position. And again, looking for this to come up probably towards the upper band here, well beyond the dollar peg in a very short period of time, right? So we'll see here what happens. I don't know, but I think Ample is one of my larger positions right now. That's one of my more kind of active trading positions, but it's a swing trade. I'm hoping to hopefully swing this and for it to hold above here, get the positive rebases for a while. Maybe even might get one of these kind of cycles where we really break away. Who knows? But it really depends on how altcoin markets pick up here in the short term. So again, Ample's looking very interesting. Again, understand the asset first. There's a great video on YouTube. If you literally look up what is Ampleforth, visually explains it. I can't remember the YouTuber's name, so I can't give credit to him. I apologize, but you'll see his YouTube channel. I recommend, if you guys enjoy his video, to check out some of his other content. Tim Holloway said, thanks for the live stream, dude. Your videos are on point. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Or sorry, Tim. My apologies. It's funny, we had two Tims, Tim and Timothy. I might mispronounce the name. I apologize. McKillen asked, hi, Nick, what's your opinion on NEO as Polkadot has interoperability and all? I think NEO, watch for NEO 3.0. That's what I would say. When we start getting an idea when Neo 3.0 is going to be announced, I'm going to be building probably a position in Neo and writing the announcement, because I'm really confident Neo 3.0 is going to take what Neo is right now, which is not very usable as a blockchain, and it's going to take it into something that really could be a competitor with Ethereum and a few other players because of the developer tools they're going to provide. Let's see here, everyone. Yeah, so people are bringing up, certain exchanges don't trade Ampleforth. That's no problem, guys. The great thing is that in the age of DEXs, anyone can tap into Uniswap. You can use, for example, again, we're not going to have it probably available in regards to Digifox for new users because you need to generate a smart wallet. We're actually postponing actual smart wallet generation. So in that case, really MetaMask might be your best option right now. But basically, yeah, you get a MetaMask wallet on your desktop. Make sure you store your seed phrase safely, and you can go about trading Ampleforth on Uniswap. It's very simple. Nice, simple user interface. Nothing. Jan had said, first time I caught a live stream of yours. That's awesome, Jan. Happy to have you. Brendan asked, am I following the the ADA to ETH ratio? And yes, I am. I actually was just looking at ratios this morning. I hadn't been checking them too much because I've been getting fascinated, and I kind of bounce between researching DeFi protocols and like the fundamental stuff, and then I look at the markets more often. And as things have cooled off, I've actually been kind of focusing on some of the protocols. But we can see here that there's a lot of protocols doing well. Atom coming back up here. This was something I wish I would have picked up on as we dipped below here. But I didn't end up getting a position, and Atom is basically doubled from the, not exactly, but actually if you take the top here, close to it, right back to where it was relatively. So I'd say in the short term, Atom looks a little bit overextended. This has been historical resistance multiple times here in the past. So watch out for a pullback on this, and if there's a short-term pullback rather than just a continuous sell-off against Ethereum or a complete loss against Ethereum, then we could see this rally back up and retest to this range here, 0.03. Now, you are wondering about ADA to Ethereum or Cardano to Ethereum, and this is what I warned a lot of Cardano investors about in the short term. And again, I don't mean to say this in a mean way against Cardano. It's not me ragging on the protocol, but it tends to be that with protocol news, unless it's something that's going to actually substantially drag liquidity over to it or substantially move some of the DeFi liquidity over, or investors and traders, right? There was the Shelley update, and in that case, I was very worried that we would top out at where we've topped out 2 times before in the past. What was previous support here and served as resistance multiple times. And against Ethereum, Cardano has been losing out for the last few weeks. Now, of course, it's still way up here from April, right? Not ragging on it. I think it's done phenomenal. And ETH has done phenomenal. So to see that it's up here still is great. But what I'm watching for here is for it to come down to historic support. We don't try to be biased on the market. We look at history, especially when we have the price action to work with. Support here, support here, support here. Broke that support here. Started to serve as resistance. Served as resistance again. And now we have a chance to make it support here. This is how you read charts, guys. I'll go ahead and make it very clear here. You can see what I'm talking about. Just looking historically at the ratios here. Ignore the numeric values. Where does it generally hold in the chart? And we're about probably a week or 2 away of ADA continuing to pull back against Ethereum, where we might start to see some value here. I don't think we're going to go all the way down here, right? I think Cardano's got some interesting things going for it, and this might be the new base range here. It's a smaller cap altcoin, market to scale. It's a fraction of the size of Ethereum in the sense of valuation. It could very well outpace Ethereum at these levels. So, just wanted to share that with you guys. Tom Biddy, thank you very much. Peak not until 2022. Gives more time to accumulate. Tom, thank you for the donation, and you're very right about that. I think, again, the key thing to focus here is to not try to rush this market. Why would we want markets to move up extremely quick if we have opportunities for capital to cycle in between different plays and watch for different trades? As a trader, I want this to go on for as long as it can. And then again as well, I just understand on a fundamental basis, it takes time to build what we're trying to build in DeFi. Because once you launch something on mainnet with immutable money, you cannot, I think in this case, as we've seen very clearly, there's been some big hacks on Ethereum, some big fallbacks. It's very clear that they're not stepping back. They're not reversing the chain. So you got to get things right the first time. And I think YAM, out of any project, was a reminder of that, not to rush things. Dice asked if I'm German. No, I'm not German. I do have some German origin in me and stuff. Most of my like descendants and stuff was probably from Europe and stuff, but I grew up in America. So let's see here. Aviv said, thank you very much, Aviv, for the donation. Thanks for the work, Nick. Been following you since 2017 and love your perspective on markets. Can't wait for the there is exuberance in the market comment. Keep up the work. Love from India. Viv, I want to, I know I've said this probably a million times, so I'm probably lying at this point. But I've said for the longest period of time that I want to start doing merch for the channel and actually make merch that people would like want to wear, like would actually be funny. And one of them is just like a big like bold word of exuberance. Someone had made a hoodie for me that had the Bitcoin logo, and on the back it said exuberance, and it was like it looked like a how it's written in the dictionary. It had like exuberance, in this case like adjective, and it just described the description of what exuberance meant, and I thought it was so cool. And someone just gave it to me when we were at a meetup. Let's see here. Hey guys, sorry, is the stream lagging a bit? Let me check here real quick. I want to make sure it's all good. Looks like it's coming through clearly here, at least on my streaming service. So if it gets bad, feel free to let me know in the chat, guys. Happy to readjust it. All right. But yeah, let me take a look at some of the other ratios here. Another example of ratios paying out. Look at this REN to Kyber network ratio. Had this written on my chart for a long period of time, hit resistance many times, but finally when we got the breakout, we came down, made it support. Very simple way, where in this case, REN has doubled comparative to Kyber network. So this is a good way to think about ratios, right? We'll take a look at the weekly here just to simplify this price action. When you're long on decentralized exchanges as a whole in the cryptocurrency space, liquidity flowing to decentralized exchanges, people making decentralized swaps, you probably are a supporter of both REN and Kyber network. And that's great. I support, I just said it earlier, I supported Kyber network since 2017. REN as well was a very fascinating project, one of our top 10 coins for this year. Again, signaling I've been long DeFi for a very long period of time. But here's the important thing. When you're trading, you can't be biased about what project you like more. Sure, maybe in the long term, if you're just investing, sure. Maybe you have one project you want to hold. Maybe you think Kyber Network's going to win out in the long term. Maybe you think REN's going to win out. Maybe you think, yeah, I don't want to hold any of these tokens because Uniswap's going to be the best one, right? Put all of that aside. If you're trading, whether you're swing trading or day trading, I'd say stay away from day trading. If you're swing trading, focus on what the chart shows you between the ratio of REN to Kyber network. And the way you type this, it's very simple. You type in your first crypto pair, and you want to specify first which exchange you want. In this case, Binance is the best one for REN. It has the most BTC. We'll hit enter. And bam, we got a ratio here. Anyone can do this. Now, you will need a higher version of TradingView in order to actually get it where you can save these ratios, but just write them down on a piece of paper. You don't need to do that, guys. It's nice, maybe you can track them here, sure, but if you just get in the habit of checking it once a week, it's likely that you'll be able to spot these opportunities, right? And even if, for example, you spotted it when it broke out here and you're like, oh no, it broke out, I'm missing out, you still can ride the majority of this wave. Don't feel a need to rush it, right? So anyways, just a key point to keep in mind. Jules said, love from Colorado, Nick. Appreciate all the knowledge you've shared over the years. Jules, thank you very much, and I hope to make it out to Colorado soon. Colorado is such a beautiful state. I went there on my road trip, and it was like, I mean, God, you just go through Colorado, and like I see why people move there and live there. It's like you can't be upset in Colorado. The nature there is so beautiful. This is actually a good question. L96 asked thoughts on Bancor to Kyber network. You know what? I have actually not looked at that ratio, and I will add that to Lister. So let's actually make a ratio here. Let's do it live, and I'll show you guys how I really go about approaching this, because you all tuned into the live stream. All I ask is you drop a like and you subscribe if you haven't. But let's go ahead. We'll do that real quick. So Bancor, in this case, we actually might have some more price history on Bancor on some other exchanges. So we have like Bittrex here, for example. Let's do a check here real quick. So we can see Bancor was listed back here in June of 2017 on Bittrex. Let's check Binance. October of 2017. So we don't really care about volume. What we care about here is the price action and the history of the price action. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to assume that Bittrex is the best here. I mean, we could check Poloniex, but yeah, see, Poloniex, all these ones listed, they started listing altcoins much later. So we'll go ahead here, do Bittrex, good amount of price history here. And what we'll do is we'll divide it. We'll do Binance because we know Kyber is our choice. KNC, BTC. Perfect. And we've got a ratio here. Okay. Now this ratio is, it's an interesting ratio. Well, there's a few things that you can note here. And notice how TA does apply to ratios. So you can see here, for example, it's a bit rough, but you had an ascending wedge here for Bancor to Kyber network. Look at this here. The highs for support rising faster than the line of resistance here. Again, it's a little bit makeshift, but you can see this led to a breakdown. We tested back, look at this. Oh, this is like a perfect example here. So you can see here that we built a support low here, right? We circled back down, broke below it, had a few tests of resistance here, and then we rolled downward. And now Bancor has finally made a really nice rebound. And when did this happen? It happened when it had a double bottom. It had its first nice weekly pop-up. Right? These are very simple things you can do. Guys, notice I'm not using any trading indicators. Not a single trading indicator. I'm naked trading. And I'm doing it with wearing a shirt. Right? No, I mean, basically, naked trading is just when you look at support and resistance, when you look for base technical patterns, you don't overcomplicate things. And you look at the longer term time frames, the daily and the weekly. So you can do naked trading, day trading, but that's if you want to lose money while being naked at the same time. At that point, you might have to naked trade naked because you're going to lose your shirt. Let's see. After Zen asked a question, hey, has Nick looked at anything that hasn't broken out yet? It's a good question. Well, most cryptos have been moving. It's very difficult in this market to find absolutely like lowball cryptos that haven't moved. I would say one of them that I think is going to pick up relatively soon is UBT. I've been watching UBT to finally make a move. I'll actually take a look at the US dollar chart first. Take a look at Bittrex, right? This has still been pushing relatively sideways here. I'm liking that generally it's setting higher lows here on the USD chart and also on the ETH chart as well. You know, we might have to hop over. This is a great tool you guys can use, is Uniswap Vision. I'm going to go ahead and go over to Uniswap Vision. Click out to the ad here. Now, Uniswap Vision acts just like TradingView, but the cool thing about it is that you can actually visualize Uniswap. So we'll go ahead and take a look at pair here. So we can do UBT, ETH, and I like to use version 1 data because this is going to give us more price history. I would use Uniswap V2 to actually make the trade, but this gives us some actual price history here. So a perfect example of how I go about trading, right? Taking a look at UBT here, ETH chart, coming from the top, down here. Generally speaking, about a 70% correction, give or take, right? If you look at more of the solidified lows, more around 70% here. This is a nice correction range. And along with that as well, it's come back to a point where we had previous resistance in the past, and now it's treating it as support. This looks very healthy to me. What I basically expect off of things like this is that you'll start to see a bounce off here. Sorry, the tool here is choosing a dark color. Let me go ahead and do that. Make the lines a little bit bigger, right? Setting like a higher level here, higher lows, starting to kind of like set up the next trend here. And again, if you want to look at the logarithmic chart here, but starting to break out and break to new highs, right? This is what I look for here in these kind of trades. Again, UBT is just one example. I mean, there's all types of different cryptos that I'm watching here in the market. You can trade Ampleforth through Uniswap. You can trade all kinds of different emerging altcoins. A lot of the ones that are getting listed on Binance usually were on Uniswap beforehand. So again, it's very important to look at DEXs in this case. Treat them serious. They have opportunities for you. But in this case, I just like, I think UBT is a solid fundamental project, and along with that as well, this kind of base level support and resistance. I mean, this is just clear technical price action. Now, don't get scared about the volume because it's moved over to the other pair, which is Uniswap V2, right? Volume looks perfectly fine here. So anyways, that's just something that you guys can use in that case. And I think UBT is one of the few plays that still hasn't moved up too much yet. There's a lot of other DeFi protocols that I'm interested in the long run. I think they've got a lot more room to go, and the sense of the excitement around them, and the sense of fundamental use case of governance tokens. We'll have to see if that really works out in the long run. Oh, sorry guys, you weren't able to see the search bar. Let me stretch out my window here a little bit. That might be better. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. So you guys can't. I see what it means. You guys couldn't look up the website search bar, like where I typed in the URL. Is that was yeah? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so it would be uniswap.vision. That's all you need to type. Very simple. Cracky said TA for the ample market chart, bro. Okay, so Cracky, I will actually look at this, but I'm very worried I won't be able to display it properly because for some reason charts, pro charts basically wasn't working. So let me type in ample here. We're gonna get the chart here. Let's see if it pops up properly. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, not much TA needed here, guys, but this is a perfect example what I look for here. So first off, especially something like Ampleforth has a lot of history to it. And this is where I'll bounce over to the logarithmic chart. So looking back here, we can see that with Ampleforth, as it's an emerging asset, we've actually kind of had the bigger logarithmic moves come later and also more stark corrections. We had an 80% pullback this time around. Previously, though, we had a 53% correction, a 72% correction. We can see that, again, Ampleforth as a play has gone through very big moves to the upside, especially when it was a small cap crypto, right? So we can see over here, right? This will change this to green in a second, right? 275% move here from the bottom down here. It's made a 572% move. And from the low up here, we had our biggest rally yet, where Ampleforth went up a whopping 12,952%. So very, very substantial move here for Ampleforth here. Justifiably why we want to have an 80% correction. Now, don't let this scare you guys. We just took a look at Bitcoin's chart here earlier, and this is why I actually kind of get impressed by these multiples, right? Take a look at the BLX chart, right? Take a look back at Bitcoin. I'm sorry, we got to go to the logarithmic chart. It looks all goofy. Look at what Bitcoin did in its first cycle. Look at what Bitcoin did in its second major cycle, its third major cycle. These kind of returns happen in some of these plays, especially when you get in early on. I'm going to go ahead. I'll close out some of these tabs, guys, just to make sure the connection is a little bit more optimal. Go ahead and close out this. Again, follow me on Twitter if you guys want it, Nicholas_Merton. Just wanted to mention that. Trying to get better. I have a Twitter for most of the last cycle, so I wanted to share it with you guys in case you want to keep up with things on Twitter. But all in all here, right, we can see that Ample makes these very big moves here. And it's important to keep these in mind as we take a look back at history, right? We want to see things that are providing us better returns here. So diving here into the standard chart, you can see very clearly here that Ampleforth had a descending wedge. It had a flat 80% correction. Spicy. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to see. And it came down here on previous resistance, making it new support. Now, people say, oh, there's negative rebases in Ampleforth, and it's I'm really worried about it declining, my available supply that I bought. Well, the thing is, if you just watch market cap, and so long as market cap's going up, you're actually winning, right? You cannot do standard TA and look at the Ethereum pair and the Bitcoin pair because your supply, your ownership is changing, but everyone's is changing to the same degree. So market cap is the perfect way to actually visualize the growth of Ampleforth and your wealth in Ampleforth. So, again, very important to watch here. Now, there is some interesting things you can do here. And again, I'm doing this live. I want to make sure I hopefully I get this right in this case. You can look at Ampleforth's market cap. And if you want to see whether you're outpacing Bitcoin, you can do that with ratios. So we can do Ampleforth's market cap divided by Bitcoin. We just got to make sure we specify the right one. In this case, we'll do Bitcoin to the dollar. Let's see if this works here. Yeah, so we can see here, this is actually basically how Ampleforth is performing against Bitcoin here. You can't tell much of a difference because Ampleforth just did crazy during this time period, right? It was crazy price action. But you can see how this alters the chart a little bit, right? So Ampleforth heavily outpaced Bitcoin here, right? You can use ratios in all types of different ways, guys. And it's a great way to gain perspective as to whether or not you're winning in the market in your positions. But all in all, Ampleforth's market cap, I mean, these past few days, right? You know, if you could have built a position down here and you're up from a valuation of around, you know, we can just kind of do a percentage gain here from where we were talking about buying it to here, where we are now. It's up around 18% at market cap. That's including the rebases. Not many plays are up 18, nearly 20% in this time frame. Those things are down right now. So this is, again, one of the trades we did in our newsletter group in this case. But again, just an example of how I do TA. I like to buy things at a discount. Ample was one of the only plays here that had cooled down and actually been at a discount during the peak of what we've been experiencing over the last week or two in DeFi. So anyways. Justin, you can buy Ample if you want through Uniswap, which is a decentralized exchange. But please, guys, do due diligence. I'm just showing you guys how I analyze charts. I'm not here to sell you on Ample being the next big thing. That's, again, for the market to decide in that case, right? I'm just one voice, right? So I just want to, I'm not meaning to say that in a mean way, but I just want to let you all know I'm not telling you all to just go out and buy it. So Miko, you'd asked about a price prediction. I think more of, you know, for Ample in the next 6 to 12 months. I can't give a price prediction, the price expectation, somewhere near $1, because the thing is the valuation is always going to go back to it at one point or another. But the next 6 to 12 months, I think the question is more of a valuation estimation. And I think Ample could easily, in the next 6 to 12 months, be around like a $3 to $5 billion asset. And right now it's at 147 million. This thing accelerates. I mean, it went from a 5 million, if I'm reading that correctly. No, that's 500,000. My apologies. Or no, 5 million, I think. Oh, yeah, no, it's 500,000. It's 500,000 up to a $600 million market cap. What's to stop it from going to 3 to 5 billion in the next cycle? So long as Ampleforth continues to refine itself and become a better asset. Folks, crypto is going to be probably around, if we have altcoin dominance at 60%, and Bitcoin goes to a $2 trillion market cap, that gives you a very clear figure of crypto as an asset class going to $5 trillion by the peak of November of 2022. What's to stop Ample from gathering $3 or $5 billion of that valuation? Maybe even more. Right? I think it's got a very good chance of continuing to grow, but we'll see. Hossein said, much respect from Iran. He's in the Middle East. Thank you for your efforts during the last few years. Learned a lot. Hossein, I'm happy to have you here. I hope I pronounced your name properly. I really do appreciate it. Let's see here. Ivan asked, do I see Ample adoption coming? I don't think Ample is ever going to be used as a currency. Maybe as it becomes better pegged with the dollar. The problem I think of Ample is more as an instrument to be utilized as collateral in the cryptocurrency space. I think it can become a currency, but if Ample wants to be used in payments, it needs to, you know, get much less volatility. So the trading opportunity might not be there anymore. But along with that as well, I think the important thing is that Ample needs to change its branding at that point, and it needs to be something with USD in its name because it's pegged to the dollar. Now, what I'm very interested in Ample is seeing Ample and its concept as an asset, right? It's aimed at being pegged to the dollar to some degree, right? And also having room to grow and decrease supply over time, like a central bank. I'm really interested to see this with assets that are pegged to things like gold, that are pegged to other types of things, you know, in the world. Again, sure, the dollar in this case is something that's seen with more stability, but the dollar changes value and purchasing power due to increases in supply, but also compared to other assets. So I'd like to see this technology, you know, apply to different things. It'll be really interesting to see if there's a way that Ampleforth and its core technology, whether it's forked over into a version that pegs itself to gold's price at a certain time period or something like that. You know, I think it'd be very, very interesting to see if there's different variations. Sorry, guys, the stream's lagging. I think we're probably going to close things off here in a couple minutes anyways, because we've been going since, I think it was around 7:40. Yeah. So we'll close it off here in a couple minutes. I apologize, guys, for the lag. Close it off here in a couple minutes. I apologize, guys, for the lag on the stream. Many people are asking about Link. Just go ahead and pull it up here. Link BTC. Oh, I guess it's not going to just let me do that here. Chainlink BTC. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think Link is having a short-term correction, much like it's had in the past. So let's go ahead and do some TA here. First correction, bam. Around 30% here, almost, right? So 30% correction in the past. Link here. So the gains have started to get higher and higher. Another around 30% correction, about 35%. So we're having expanding run-ups, and we're also having expanding declines, it looks like. So what would I expect here? I think that this is probably going to continue to roll over, come down to previous support here, probably have another 536% correction. This would be nice. Maybe even it comes down, if we're lucky enough, onto previous resistance down here. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Link is too much of a momentum play for that to happen just yet. We'll see, though. All in all, I mean, there's not much TA you can do here. You're buying into something that's gone up pretty vertically. Yeah, not to say that Link can't keep going up, but I like to wait for more substantial declines. There's more other optimistic plays. Uniswap provides too much opportunities right now for me to get interested in Link as a large cap crypto. It's more the safe bet plays if you want to kind of trade in the altcoin space, right? And you guys can as well. We support Link trades in regards to our Uniswap integration, but also if you have some Link that you're holding, and the next coming week or so, we've got some good news for those who want to earn interest on their Link if they just want to hold it for the long run. So yeah, I wouldn't be trading Link too much right now. More than anything, if you want a dollar cost average in, maybe, but I don't know. Yeah, Ivan, I think that's a pretty good summary there. November 2022 or 2022. However you want to pronounce it. That's the general estimation for where I would expect Bitcoin to top out. And we might have it where altcoins continue to rally afterwards, like we did in January of 2018, as the liquidity cycles out of the Bitcoin top. So we'll be looking out for that as well. Let's see here. BFTS asked, Nick, what do you think about the second? I think YouTube got rid of this, but I